4 miners confirmed dead, 1 is still unaccounted for. Unions are demanding answers from mine bosses. A 43-year-old man is behind bars tonight. A 10-year-old girl is safe after surviving a suspected house of horrors in Durban. This is eNews at 8. I'm Sally Baudet. Good evening. Well, there's still no sign of the 5th mine worker thought to be trapped underground at Sibanye Stillwater's kloof operations. 4 people have been found dead. 3 bodies have been retrieved. The mining company spoke to us here on eNews last night and confirmed that the men were on duty when they entered an abandoned workspace. Miners today have told our reporter Malungelo Boy that workers at Sibanye Stillwater were forced to go to that part of the mine.
Fellow mine workers wait around at the scene where some of their colleagues died. While 4 workers have been confirmed dead, 1 is still unaccounted for. The company says it's unsure how the workers ended up in an abandoned work area.
At this stage, we cannot tell, but an investigation obviously would have to take place where we'd have to determine the circumstances around which led to actually them getting into this area. The DMR is currently on site and they will be the ones obviously leading the investigation.
But these workers who want to remain anonymous say the workers were forced to be where they ended up losing their lives.
Ivalwe 3 months, ivalwe chief boss ne-miner ne-captain ngendawo ukuthi kubonakala ukuthi le ndawo ayilungelanga ukuthi ingangena umuntu kwazo appointwa abantu abanga-appointwanga kulawo ma-position ukuthi abayisebenze. Ngikhuluma i-captain evulele yandawo ayi-appointwanga, i-chief boss benga-appointwanga.
So inkampani bisazi ngalamini bakhona abantu abangena pha?
Iyazi, ayikwazi ukungazi. And ngikhuluma nawe labantu laba ababevalele yandawo ngokuba beyibona ukuthi basuspendiwe namanje abasebenzi.
They say other miners refused to work in that area. Unions say the company must be taken to task.
Or the crew that was directed to enter that area, where they trained, they were familiar with the area. There was any risk assessment conducted. Reason being is that the DMR issued a Section 54 that prohibited the company to allow any workers to enter into an area with a similar high temperatures.
From January to date, we have 45 fatalities in the mining industry. 22 is what Sibanye attributes to. It's almost half of that. It leads in terms of the disasters. What we classify as a disaster is where there's 1 employee, more than 1 that dies. They lead in that sphere as well. So whatever it takes to save black human life, so be it.
Mineral Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe has condemned the latest incident, which comes a month after the death of 7 workers at the company's Driefontein operations. Malungelo Boy in the West Rand.
To Durban now, and a 10-year-old girl has been rescued from what seems to be a house of horrors. It's believed the child, who was living with her stepfather in Verulam, was being repeatedly raped and abused. On Sunday, she ran to neighbours and a horrific story began to emerge. Now, the stepfather was assaulted by neighbours and then, it seems, arrested on Sunday night, but managed to escape from hospital. THIS reports that security officials found the man hiding at a factory and then turned him in this afternoon. Now, please be warned, this story contains graphic details and potentially disturbing images.
This is the back room in which a 44-year-old man allegedly held his 10-year-old stepdaughter captive for months. It's believed she was sexually abused and prevented from going to school after the death of her mother 5 years ago. On Sunday, she was thrown out by the man in a fit of rage, and she ran to a neighbor.
She told me no, first he touched her private part, right? Apparently, according to what she's saying, that in Joburg when they used to stay, he used to make her suck his private blood, but she didn't sleep with her, right? When they moved here, he started sleeping with her. Continues like one day in, one day out, according to what she told me, right? And he used to like force her.
The man was confronted and assaulted by residents on Monday. and later arrested. Almost 12 hours after the suspect was arrested, detectives arrived to cordon off the area. Neighbors had already been inside the man's room and had searched through his belongings. They'd taken his phone, which was later handed over to police. The phone, which they say is his, shows exchanges of child pornography between the owner and other men. Neighbors also claim the father was using these sex toys on the little girl and forcing her to watch pornographic DVDs. She's now in a place of safety. Where's her family?
According to what she's saying, she has her mother's side family, but he always put this into her head that they don't want her.
Residents say they didn't realize the extent of the abuse until the child spoke out.
He wasn't in the same bed.
They start screaming 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock morning, saying, Dad, you hurt me, don't do it. And he says, you know what, don't do this tomorrow, don't do this. You're keeping the house so filthy, you didn't wash the dishes.
The suspect apparently escaped from hospital after his arrest, but was found on Tuesday afternoon by security officials and handed back to police. He's expected to appear in court this week. THIS Verulam, Durban.
Moving on to other news now, Eskom workers are unhappy with a 0% increase this year. They will be picketing on Thursday. Eskom says they can't afford increases. Unions say government must now step in. If the National Union of Mine Workers and Metal Workers go ahead with a planned picket outside Eskom offices across the country on Thursday, this may lead to lights going out. Now, Eskom employees are not allowed to legally strike as they're deemed essential service workers. Unions have warned they're not backing down, though, until they get a 15% wage hike. To Cape Town now, and the big question, who sold off our strategic oil reserves? It's a question that remains unanswered, and today the Central Energy Fund updated MPs on the controversial sale. In 2015, about 10 million barrels of oil was sold without Treasury or CEF approval. Peladi Situsa has the story.
We are cooperating with authorities. This is the answer the Central Energy Fund had for MPs who wanted to know where the investigation into the illegal sale of the country's oil reserves stood.
The previous minister, Jo Peterson, was lying to us straight, and she was telling us that it is rotation stock. If this was an illegal sale, because this is what you're trying to show, then will the minister then make a criminal case against the previous minister, because that is fraud.
The CEF had to answer this urgent question while presenting its turnaround strategy for financially ailing Petro SA. Parliament has, for a long time now, wanted to know who approved the sale.
We had filed our court papers. We have made clear what our position is. Rotation, when you rotate, you take out the stock, you buy another one. And we did not do that.
Makasi says persons of interest are being investigated. Buyers, including Glencore UK Limited, want either the barrels or the reported 4 billion rand they paid for them. All eyes are now on current Minister Jeff Radebe to present more detail on how advanced the investigation is and who criminal charges may be levelled against. MPs want this to happen before the end of the year. Peladi Situsa, Parliament.
Still ahead on eNews.
Yeah, begging Kala and as the Minister of Police to help our guys.
The people who risk their lives every day behind the wheel of cash and transit vans plead for help. Well, today Johannesburg's budget was passed. It was third time lucky for Mayor Herman Mashaba. Earlier versions of the budget were criticised by the EFF for not being pro-poor, but amendments were made. The budget has now been passed. The ANC, however, walked out of the vote today. But on a very busy day, Mayor Mashaba had another challenge on his hands, and he suspended Health MMC and DA mayoral councillor Mpho Palatse. Now, a video has surfaced showing Palatse making remarks that the city of Johannesburg is a friend of Israel. Mashaba says he's disappointed that a member of the mayoral committee expressed her personal views as the city's position. The Joburg mayor says the Israeli-Palestinian issue is a sensitive and complex matter. He says the city is committed to a two-state solution, and Palazi's remarks may create confusion and divisions. Protests about the high rate of cash in transit heist were held in various centres today. The people who drive the cash vans say they cannot stay silent in the face of the senseless slaughter of their colleagues. They're threatening to bring the economy to a standstill if government doesn't take urgent action. Slindile Masikani spoke to security officers who face death on a daily basis.
Hundreds of security workers affiliated to FEDUSA and the Motor Transport Workers Union marched to Gauteng's Community Safety Department to deliver a memorandum to the MEC. Their message, enough is enough.
We are begging Kala and as the Minister of Police to help our guys. The killings must stop and the bombing of the trucks.
Cash in transit heists are on the rise in Gauteng, Mpumalanga and KwaZulu-Natal, with 159 such attacks recorded in the first 6 months of this year. This security officer is one of the lucky ones who lived to tell the tale after he and his colleague were attacked last week.
New brand. Batwintsha mabili a mora bathunya mabili ka fela traka e dula fase re ituri dutse ka pele ha ona ntho re ka etsang re zama phone ke tswa ra tshwara steering traka ya stop from there ba ra bula ra thewa ra surrender ba zamilo bomba.
Workers are demanding high caliber weapons, properly armored vehicles, training, improved working conditions and 20,000 rand as a basic minimum wage. They also want police escorts and limits on the amount of cash transported at one time.
If we don't receive any attention to this, we are going to stop the country.
A meeting is expected between employers, government and labour within the next 14 days. Slindile Masikani, Johannesburg.
To international news and what could be the first step towards bringing security to the Korean peninsula. US President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un met in Singapore to sign a document reaffirming North Korea's promise to remove its nuclear weapons. Now, while experts within the US say they've heard it all before, neighbours in the region are welcoming the outcome of the historic summit.
A publicity stunt or a real step towards bringing an end to the war of words between the US and North Korea.
Very nice. Getting a good picture of everybody so we look nice and handsome and thin.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
The Singapore summit, which almost didn't happen, saw US President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un sign a joint statement.
Today we had a historic meeting and decided to leave the past behind, and we are about to sign a historic document.
The document reaffirms North Korea's commitment to complete denuclearization, but doesn't explain how or when this will happen. However, Trump says the United States will stop its military drills in the region.
We will be stopping the war games, which will save us a tremendous amount of money, unless and until we see that the future negotiation is not going along like it should. But we'll be saving a tremendous amount of money. Plus, I think it's very provocative.
South Korea President Moon Jae-in welcomed the summit and has vowed to write a new history with North Korea. China and Japan have also welcomed the joint statement, at the same time calling for more dialogue between the two nations to achieve peace.
Let's recap your top story. 4 miners confirmed dead. 1 is still unaccounted for. Unions are demanding answers from mine bosses. And finally, world peace and nuclear disarmament are serious issues. Not so much if you're a former reality star turned US President Donald Trump. His team has created a fake movie trailer portraying himself and the North Korean leader as heroes changing the world. This video was apparently shown to Kim and his aides towards the end of the Singapore summit earlier today.
7 billion people inhabit planet Earth. Of those alive today, only a small number will leave a lasting impact. And only the very few will make decisions or take actions that renew their homeland and change the course of history. Featuring President Donald Trump and Chairman Kim Jong-un in a meeting to remake history.
That's your news. Take care. Good night.